Hi there. Welcome to Courageous Conviction. Remember that Jeff and I sit down and we discuss a topic or a theme. Sometimes things are more a little sensitive than others that many of you don't want to talk about. Our road back to the covenant path and to finding our Savior Jesus Christ was not an easy one. We both got way out there. We have a lot of experience. We put a lot of study and a lot of our knowledge together when we're discussing these topics or these themes. We may go down many rabbit holes. So we have 5 episodes each week that we hope that you'll come back and join into before we bring things around full circle. So please hit the like button, subscribe, and let's get started. Welcome back to Courageous Conviction. Today I'm going to do a little side note and respond to a few of the comments. Let people know too that the last couple of weeks, Jeff and I have had some technical difficulties, some things coming up. We're just getting started with this podcast, and our schedules are really saturated. Both of us moving back to the U.S., starting our lives, starting a new business, and it just keeps me busy all the time. And so the last few weeks we've had a hard time getting our podcast up. This morning we got up early in the morning to do our podcast. We were well into a good podcast for everybody, and the electricity went out in the country of Ecuador this morning. And so now what's that mean? Well, our office where we record, the group that we work with, and those that are members of church, I have a group of young adults that I worked with when I was in the stake, and we became really close. It was a business that we started together with our stake president during the whole lockdown issue to try to get the young adults to come together and use their talents and build a business, become self-sufficient, right? And from that, we spurned off and we have a little company down there with them still. And one of them is this channel. One of the things that we're doing is this channel. We had a previous channel as well where we discussed it was more of a crypto and everything involved in crypto, which included the politics and everything around that would influence pro or against crypto, right? Point being that Jeff and I have had some difficulties, and this morning we had a really good podcast we recorded this morning, and when the electricity went off, we lost the whole thing. Unfortunately, now I'm heading out to go do a little work on a project, and I want to talk about something that I think is going to be a stumbling block for many in and out of the church, right? And what's going to pull us into what I want to call Satan's deception, right? Which is the deception of the evil powers that are governing this world right now. And I will be one to say that there's a black and a white. There is a good and there's a bad. There is evil and there's a God. And I know that in my soul and my heart, I know that for a fact. My conviction is beyond what anybody could talk me out of. Why? Not because I've always been this way, and not because I've always been a good boy either. I've been way out there. When I finally get my book released, I think many are going to be shocked at how far I did go out there and where I'm at now. And it's a miracle where I'm at now. So Jeff and I by no means are trying to say, hey, you can leave the Lord and always come back when you want to. The Lord has his hands outstretched always. He's always there for us. The problem is we get so caught up in the world that we don't come back. It becomes convenient for us. It becomes easy for us. And it then becomes difficult for us to make the good, hard decisions, right? So with that in mind, we need to watch out for convenience. That is going to be something that is going to be a challenge for many members of the church. Let me just talk a little bit more about this here. Convenience. Is it convenient for us to just order our groceries and wait for somebody to deliver it? I go to my mom's house and she says, oh, don't worry about it. I'll just call and have it delivered. So she spends, $5 or $7 more on something, but she doesn't have to leave the house. She likes that. Convenience. We shop online with Amazon. We've made Amazon a Goliath giant, right? And Jeff Bezos with Amazon, by the way, does not do all good things with his money. Convenience. The CBDC with the banks coming out now, the central bank digital currency. Convenience. Well, the whole digital ID, the idea that DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles in California, for example, is already on blockchain, right? It's centralized. And so what people are going to get now are going to get a title on an NFT, a non-fungible token. It's digital. So see, it looks like it's crypto, but it's not. It's blockchain, centralized and decentralized. And I bring that into now, how does that affect us in the church? Well, convenience in the church, we call it apathy, right? In other words, if it's not convenient, we don't do it. And that's where we're becoming as a society. And this is the reason why all these fringe ideologies are coming into the gospel now, or into the church. The gospel is never going to change. Church policy changes from time to time. We've seen that happen, like with the blacks getting the priesthood. Great, I'm glad for them, and that's great. And I know I have many good friends that are black. Vida Blue, the famous pitcher. He and I spent a lot of time together, especially down in Costa Rica. There are issues that we have right now in the church that will seem they're going to divide us, unfortunately, and we need to stay united. Now, I just want to say something, and this is where I think my stance, my argument comes in. My concerns, I should say, come in, is that if we keep going down the road we're going with this whole LGBTQ promoting this idea of acceptance, this open arms of this all-inclusiveness, it's the same conditioning now to include and accept everything that the government's going to roll out. And this is part of the 2030 agenda, is to condition us. That's what COVID was all about too. And we jumped at it. We gave up our freedoms for nothing. And what I argue with people, and I try to explain to people, and I say argue, I'm saying to debate, if we would, but always in a persuasive way, never coercive. If somebody doesn't want to accept what I understand to be true, and this isn't my opinion, this is something that has a lot of study behind it. If somebody doesn't want to accept it, that's fine. You don't have to. We have agency, right? But here's what I'm going to say to summarize this video, is that convenience is going to be the monster that robs freedom. Because what's going to happen, we're going to give up certain freedoms because we're going to say we don't need those anymore. That was old. And yet, just recently, I don't remember who it was. I listened to all these different conferences. During the day, when I'm working, I am listening to certain podcasts. I'm listening to journal discourses. I'm listening to or reading when I get a chance to read. I don't get a chance to read a lot during the day at work, but I listen. And so I'm preparing. All week, Jeff and I prepare for these podcasts. And we have a lot of study prior to that coming into it. So when we're talking, we're not just giving our opinions. These have real value to them and have truth backing them. I always take the side of truth. Now, that being said, do I make mistakes, things of that nature? Yeah, I do. I'm human, like all are, even our leaders. That doesn't mean they're not called of God. That doesn't mean the message that we're bringing isn't true either. Now, do I strive every day to be a better person, to raise that bar a little bit more? Yes. And that, I think, is the whole point we've been going with the whole LGBTQ idea. This morning was a really good podcast. We were responding to your comments, and we've gotten a lot of good comments out there, and we really appreciate that. So I'm going to do a couple videos today to try to get out this week that are responding to comments. We don't have a lot of time to sit and write to them, to you, though we will. We'd love to. Convenience, you guys. We got to be careful. CDBC, Central Bank Digital Currency, is already being rolled out. It's called the FedNow. Started last June. It was more official. Kind of April to start experiment. FedNow had over 200 banks as of the last report I saw coming in the first part of the year already assigned to it. As you notice, in your bank accounts, you're going to be able to have option to digital or actual dollars, right? In Wells Fargo, I know, for example, one account that one of the businesses we have has, they ask us when we make a deposit, do you want it digital or do you want it in dollars, right? Cash. So we'll be able to pull it out in a cash bank account or a digital bank account. That's a digital wallet that goes in your phone. That is a centralized blockchain. The whole idea is it's centralized. And the decentralization is when it's not centralized. It's the public, the republic, if you will, runs it all. And we vote on it through a democratic process. Remember, it's the republic that's important here, not democracy. Where my wife is from, Nicaragua, with Ortega, they have a democracy. China has a democracy too. They have elections every year, but it doesn't make any difference. Ortega and his wife still win, and they're still president and vice president every year, right? It's been going like that for like 4, 5, 6 elections now, whatever it is. We are sitting back being very apathetic in our callings. And it's difficult right now. It really is, because you're not sure which way to turn. I was talking to Jeff earlier. I feel very, very censored in when I can speak at church. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Convenience. We've got to be careful of convenience. Hard work is what I was going to refer to in the General Conference talk. Work is a divine principle. If we give up working hard to obtain something, then we give up the process of learning, and we allow all these fringe ideologies to meld themselves into a religion, because this is the religion of academia, if you will, if you want to borrow the metaphor from, or the reference from Greg at Quick Radio. I believe that 100%. And I've said that too. Not the religion of academia, but that it's a religion to these people. It's not like it's just some ideology or some group of people out there that has some issues. This is a movement, and a movement that is being spurned on by a centralized group of people. It's called the World Economic Forum, right? Joined with the United Nations. And I'm just talking these things. I know it's kind of outside the gospel principles, but remember, we're talking about Section 88. We have to understand all these things to be able to magnify our callings. Why? Because then we know what's coming. We know how to prepare ourselves. And I feel good about that. I think it's coming faster than we realize. I'm not trying to scare people. And I think that we need to cling to our faith and work as hard as we can without overdoing it ourselves. Become self-reliant. Become self-reliant. Do your own food processing. Get things to be able to cook with, to boil water with. Be careful of convenience. I know we have to use it sometimes. I try not to use Amazon at all anymore because I know what Jeff Bezos is doing with that money. However, there's times that I just have to get something delivered up to me. I don't have time to go an hour and a half down to a Lowe's or a Home Depot or whatever to pick up certain supplies, and I need it delivered and timing, right? So I do it out of convenience. Be careful of the CBDC. The central bank digital currency will be adopted by convenience, and we take cash away, or you take actual real money away, which is gold and silver, by the way, not cash. But you take those things away, even the cash. You take those out, you have now a controlled economy by the government. That's very dangerous. And they're going to roll out a social credit score. So you're going to have that also in your application. They started that during COVID in many places. And they're going to roll out a passport, a vaccine passport. And that will determine whether you can travel or not. These things, I don't want to go into those right now. But what I want to go into is the conveniences will pull us away from the principles our Savior taught us here to learn. There's good things in that convenience. There's good things in technology. But there are just as many, if not worse things that come out of technology than good things. We become a lazier, more apathetic people. Look, for example, to summarize this, how many times in Elders Quorum or Religious Society, you just text message people, right? Or send out an email, mass email to people. Before we used to call and talk personally, and we could get a feel from the voice whether that person was connected or disconnected. We don't have that anymore. One is time. We don't have time anymore. Why is it we don't have time anymore? Well, because of inflation. Not only inflation, but now we have rising taxes. You know, this government is touting about how they created more jobs than any other president. Okay, there are jobs created. A lot of them were going back to work because COVID was laid off and new jobs created from the spurt of COVID. But the other fact that came out in a report I've read is that all the second jobs people are taking right now just to be able to make a living, keep their kids in good schooling, have their vehicles. Maybe we need to bring it down some, become humbler. We're very prideful. And this is all about pride. Everything we're talking about is about pride. Convenience is stemmed because of pride. LGBTQ is stemmed because of pride. This is a pride movement. This is something prideful. We're not bowing our heads down to accept the truth in the gospel of what we need to do to make the change in our lives. And I'm speaking from personal experience. I'll go into that in another video. I just want to talk about warning of convenience today and be careful of convenience. When we can do hard work, it's like, can I take the escalator, elevator, or take the stairs? I try to make it a point. If I'm able to walk and physically healthy, I can do it. I take the stairs. Just because the principle, no, I'm not going to take the easy way. Satan wants us to go down the easy path. So be careful of that. Courageous conviction. We will see you in our next video.